Oh, we're here. We're live. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our Thursday book celebration. I'm super excited. We've already had a good time. Like, I'm already in a good place just
Yeah.
from hanging out beforehand. I'm really grateful that Mandy Hayden has agreed to come and celebrate her book. We've already had a fabulous conversation. I'm going to give you a little bit about her and also remind you that you can find the book with Wild Ink Publishing, How to Tie Tobacco. Uh, A.M. Hayden served as Poet Laureate for Sinclair College from 2021 to 2025 and is an award-winning professor of humanities, philosophy, and world religions. My gosh, I'd love to take one of your classes. She
Mm.
has received several pedagogy recognitions, including the League for Innovation Teaching Excellence Award in 2020 and the Distinguished Faculty Scholars Award in 2024. Her debut poetry collection, American Saunter, was released in December 2024 by FlowerSong Press. There it is. And, she was talking about having done this backward. Her first full length came out, and How to Tie Tobacco is her first chapbook that was released May 2025 by Wild Ink Publishing. Her second full length collection, Old World Wings, Poems of Europe, will also be released by Wild Ink Publishing in late 2025. So you know what that means? We're going to ask her back. A Pushcart Prize nominee and River Heron Review Editor's Choice winner. She lives on a windy little farm with her family and many rescues, including their blind three-legged wonder pup, Vinny Valentine. Thank you. Welcome, Mandy. We're just so happy to have you here.
Thank you. I am thrilled to be here. I'm so over the moon. I feel so much love and support, and I give it all right back to y'all. I'm just really happy to be here tonight. Oh, would you?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, are you okay with me spotlighting you, Mandy? I meant to ask that ahead of time, and normally I'm a little bit more
Yeah.
mindful. Okay, great, because I would love to see, and you've got share screen, and I know we get to hear a lot of amazing things behind the creation of this chapbook and how it came together. Also, one of the things I want to remind everybody, if you haven't already seen the cover, if you could show it again, Mandy, I didn't bring my copy down.
I will. There we
This
go.
is a photograph of her family. So this has a lot of other items with the poetry.
And can everybody see that okay? Are you able to see that share screen?
Not yet.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought I was sharing it. Let me see. There we
There we
go.
go.
You see it now?
It's
All right,
coming.
good. Awesome, awesome. Yep, there's the front cover of the book. And yeah, that's so all of the photographs and there's recipes, there's little snippets of letters and notes, and they're all from my family archives, family photo boxes. There's a few photos in there I took myself, but yeah, it's a very personal endeavor and a project that was inspired by many years of hearing stories from the matriarchs in my family, going down south every year and just hearing the stories. In the last few years, when I would visit, I just kept thinking, these are poems. These are poems waiting to be put, to paper. And so I sat down, and as I was telling them earlier, it felt like my grandmothers, my mimas and my mamas and my they were all just channeling through. I could feel them just in the room kind of shoving each other aside, like, let me tell my story. And it just channeled through, and it was just such a very, very special project to me. So I'm just so thrilled and grateful to be able to share it and let other people know about it.
Thank you. That is so, I mean, I love seeing the pictures. And I think that part of what makes this so special is that it feels like we're being welcomed into a family with all the family stories and history and the pictures and the recipes. So I was hoping you could just, start reading and maybe show us some of the other pictures and things that are in there.
Absolutely. I'd be happy to. So this came out, How to Tie Tobacco came out in May 2025. And it was written, kind of in a fever fugue over a few weeks, in early, I think 2023, but again, it was sort of, writing and editing over the next couple of years. So I'll read a few poems from the collection, and then definitely I can show you some of the photos and some of the pages, directly. So thank you for being here and for hosting this. And just it's really an honor and a gift to be here. This is my first one I'll read. This is called Look 'em, and this is actually the first poem in the book. And just to confirm, everybody can see that okay? Okay, great. Never want to assume, right? So this was inspired by listening to the women talk in the kitchen about the food they were making. And so this was just inspired by listening to their banter and just kind of me filling in some gaps with my own imagination. It's called Look 'em. Today, you are a secret keeper because you don't eat pork. So you pretend not to hear how she conjured these dripping silk collards, greased them with fat back slabs, soaked them in hog jowl, after she first doused the leaves in cool sink water to look 'em for bugs, worms, and other garden critters. And so you tune out all that jowl and slab, take spoonfuls of sliding butter beans, penny-sized black-eyed peas, sop up all the fixins with a flaky, buttery biscuit, because she put her foot in this food, and anyone who doubts a Southern woman needs only watch her raw cut the green leaves, squeeze tight in one fist, with the serrated knife in the other, suspended straight in the air, striking like a copperhead without hesitation. Thank you. I just get such joy out of that one. Don't mess with a Southern woman. And that's my great grandmother. We called her Mama. And so that picture I thought was so appropriate, where she just looks like, like, just like she'll whoop you. The next one I chose to write is called Egg Exchange. And this is also a story that was told, and kind of a excerpt glimpse of a story, a kind of a general, and then I started kind of weaving in the details of what I imagined around the story. But the story is based on a true event. So this is called Egg Exchange. She was 14 the day her mom fetched her. Run next door to Jerry's folks for butter and eggs. She knocked 3 times until the door opened. Jerry stood there. As she made the request, he glanced at her, then pointed at the bed in the adjacent room. His silent proposed barter wedged in her chest, choked her like cigar smoke. She spun around and sprinted down each porch step, holding her britches up tight, and didn't stop running until she plowed through her front door, where she paused, out of breath, and lied to her mama for the first time. They were out. Daddy will have to carry you to town. Thank you. And that was one I love that, kind of the surprise of a title seeming innocent, like, oh, just isn't this a lovely, the Southern women are getting together for an egg exchange. I love when a title leads you into something, but then there's these deeper meanings. And so this was one of those, poems where it just seemed to fit really well to write it with that idea. So thank you. The next one I'll read, this was sort of a late addition to the collection, but I'm really glad I added it. This is a list poem. So thinking about, and this was inspired by hearing some of the things that, back in the day, the kitchen witch, the women, and some of them I'm like, oh, that's, really interesting. And some of them I was like, wow, really? So that's what this Kitchen Cures is inspired by. A glass jar, black with lamp coal oil, molasses thick for a swollen finger, slammed in a heavy front door. A cotton ball full of warm melted butter stuck in your ear to ease an earache. A teaspoon of paregoric, honey, licorice, tincture, anytime for a stomach ache. Flowers of Benjamin and notes of opium make the pain go away. A finger rub of whiskey to hush baby's tender, teething gums, soothing for everyone. A shot of whiskey and spoonful of honey for a cold. A pinch of homemade headache powder dumped in your mouth like a pixie stick. A freezer full of homemade pies, pecans from out back, eggs from yard birds. You never know when someone will drop by. Thank you. And I just love, I mean, one of the billion things I love about poetry is I love how anything, even the most, mundane or simple or just, I love how you can take that and turn it into a poem. And it's just my favorite thing. So I really enjoyed putting that one together. And yeah, it was my mother who told me about the paregoric and how, oh, it had opium in it. I was like, oh, wow. So, I was like, that's gonna get its way into a poem somehow. And I'd always heard about, the whiskey on the gums. I always heard of that one. The next one is a really unique, special one for me. It's the only one in the collection that is a found poem, or I should say, a found / collage poem. So where this came from is I found a letter. There are not that many. I don't have that many letters from my family, but there was one letter that was from my great aunt to my grandmother's husband. And so this was after she had passed. And so I found that letter, and it was just it was a very impactful letter to read. And then around the same time, which this just still blows my mind, I was going through an old folder of stuff my parents had kept and going through trying to find, just searching for anything, any clues or any things I didn't know about my grandparents and great grandparents. And I came across a short story, a handwritten short story by my paternal grandmother. And so I had that moment of, she was a writer. I never knew this. No one ever mentioned anything about this, but it was in her handwriting. She signed it. It's the only story I found amongst many Bible clippings and articles, but she wrote short stories. And so this was just such a powerful moment for me to think, oh my gosh, like writing is in, like, this has been something in the family. And obviously my grandmother never was published that I know of, so now I feel like this connection of, now I can in some way kind of connect her stories. And so so this poem is a combination of, it's a poem written in response to the letter and that short story that I found. And it's called Forgive Them. My memories have grown sweet, writing to resolve troubles. We always hurt the ones we love. Words we can't take back were spoken. I would have helped you 1,000 times over, but I didn't know how. I didn't have to be in the room to hear you call me. Bewilderment in your expression. I felt the helpless agony of it. Long after, I felt your presence still, spirit unbound by walls or places. We were all taught ghosts can jump and walk. I've heard you pound your cane into the floorboards in night's hours, whisper through the hallway. We can't run from life. Thank you. That one, like, that one just takes my soul and just twists it inside out every time. So thank you. That one just really, and like I said, it's the only one in the collection that's like a found collage type of form. So really excited when that one came out. Thank you. And then the final one I'll read from the collection, and then I'll show you. There's other ones too. Hopefully that entices you. There's many other poems and that range from very humorous to I've got sonnets, I've got a ghazal, I've got a villanelle. So I've got some good forms in there. So if you're into forms, there's a few of those treats in there for you. This last one I'll read is called Caretaker Covenant. And this is also written about my grandmother, my paternal grandmother, also the same grandmother who wrote the short story. I don't know what to do, she cried, after he fell and broke his hip, refused to see the doctor. Before she became his reluctant nurse, she fed and fixed goats, hand wrote tea postcards, fashioned quilts for future grandbabies. She was born with a stained glass heart that had carried her lifetime of unbroken covenants, pumped a prohibitionist passion, a pilgrim's piety. She begged him to get help. Instead, he hissed her through blurred weeks. She spread her homemade blanket down for him to sit, to drag his limp bones and heavy heart across the living room floor, to the bathroom tile, back and forth shuffle each day, until the afternoon, her prism heart shattered. She fainted and fell to the floor. Pillar of salt and light, silence cradled in her chest. And he crawled to the phone, picked up the receiver, and cried, I don't know what to do, as it rang and rang. Thank you. And I promise they're not all so sad. But that one really is important to me. That grandmother, she actually passed away before I was born, 3 years before I was born. And so I have two of her quilts that she made for me before I was ever around. And so in one of them, really special, there was a third quilt that was in patches that she had not put together yet. There were still just the patches. And so for my daughter, who I named Hannah after her, she quilted those together. I had them quilted together for her for, I think it was her third birthday. So just really, really special to be able to find these connections and to like continue to tell stories, and just the strength and the formidable power of these women that often weren't told. These stories often weren't prioritized or highlighted or even valued. And so that was part of this project, was to bring light to some of their stories. And like I said, some of them are really funny, and some of them are very dark and solemn and sad. And there's just a whole range of life lived. And so I hope, that's what I hope, is that this kind of just gives a little taste of some of those stories by these just powerful steel magnolia women. And then that's the last picture here. That's me on a front porch. That's me as the baby. And then that's my mom.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my mom, my Mima, and my Mama. And then on the right side are great grandparents on my paternal side. So thank you so much.
so much, Mandy. Oh, it was so, I kind of don't want the journey to end. It was so amazing to see the pictures and hear the stories, about how these poems came to light. I also have to say, I was really struck. Think at first I wasn't really noticing, the poems I'd read before, just how lovely your language is. Oh my gosh, it was just gorgeous. And there were a couple of times where I was like, the slant rhymes, I mean, the musicality was really hard to not just go, holy cow, that's masterful. And
Mm,
you do a lot of intuitive work with like how you choose to form your poems. And I wanted to kind of talk about that because you do have form poems, you also use couplets, and then you also had poems that just were in a single stanza, and it seemed so well thought out. Let the poem itself find its container. But I kind of wanted you to talk a little bit, if you don't mind, about your process of when you're working with poetry or editing. Do you know right away when you're working with it, or is it something afterwards?
no, that's the short answer. No, I don't know right away. And thank you for all of that positive feedback. That I mean, obviously, I'm so appreciative of that, and I love language, and so I just really appreciate that feedback. Yeah, in general, I mean, there are exceptions to it, but in general, 99% of the time, I start with it's usually a phrase that comes to my mind. I might get, especially when I'm driving, I have a long commute because I live out in the country with my farm. So I have a long commute to where I teach. And so a lot of it will come, while I'm driving, I'll all of a sudden get like a phrase or an idea or, um, maybe even like a rhyme or a sentence will kind of come to me or an image. And I usually audio record, it's like, don't forget this, don't forget this little blip, or even just a feeling. Like I might get a feeling of, something with, like with that list poem, it was like something with paregoric, something with, the old remedies, and so just things like that. And so I'll kind of jot down in my like little bits journal that I have. And then usually the process, I always handwrite first. I have my little yellow manila. Like right here's my one I'm working on right now. So I use those and write down my first thoughts and maybe certain words I like to use, and usually feeling. I really start with what do I want this poem to or really what does this poem want to feel like? Does it want to feel happy, joyful? Does it want to feel mysterious? Does it want to feel whimsical? Does it want to, what is the feeling? So I start with that, and then I sometimes, not always, but sometimes make, Josie Alford calls this a mind map, where I actually will just kind of draw out, like, kind of connect like a feeling, a phrase, even colors. Like this poem feels green and brown, or this poem feels lavender, like even colors. Or I've done music. I do music a lot. Like this poem feels like a Mazzy Star song, or this poem feels like a Doors song, like I've done that. So just whatever. It may not make sense, it may not make any like a lot, but I like, if somebody went and read this, they'd be like, what chaos is she like, what is she talking about? But in my head, I know what I mean, because it'll just be like the snippet thing. So that's what I start with. And then usually I do kind of, is kind of, I guess, woo woo as it sounds, I do try to open myself to this, what does the poem want to be? And I kind of try to let that poem unveil, reveal itself to what it wants to be. And usually that'll be like the first draft, and that will be, the draft or two. And a lot of times that form just naturally, effortlessly comes, where it's just like, oh, like there's a villanelle in the book. It's called Dead Ringer Villanelle, and it's about death, but it's humorous. It's about how my grandmother on my mom's side told the story of, well, my uncle told the story how she told it to him, that one time they went to a funeral, and in the middle of the funeral, the fellow sat up in his casket and he wasn't dead. So like yes, she swears, and she said, I saw it with my own eyes. And so I got that phrase in my head of, how that's strange but kind of funny, and kind of like such an odd thing. And she's, my ma'am, I wouldn't lie. So I thought, oh, that's interesting. And so it started to become this like she saw it with her own two eyes at the Baptist church in town. And I started to get that like in my head. And I thought, ooh, this would be a good villanelle. And so I called it Dead Ringer Villanelle and kind of wove in the whole like, oh, here's the reason why they put a bell in the coffin. And like, so started weaving in all that history. And so that really like that just pretty soon I had the idea, and then it just became like, oh, that'd be a good villanelle, right? Um, and but you know, other ones sometimes take time. Sometimes I just kind of write more of a prose or a free verse, and they stay that way, or maybe through the fourth or fifth or 20th or 150th draft, I'm like, you know, actually, I think that does want to be a sonnet, or that does want to be something else, right? And so kind of go from there. So they do change, they don't always stay, but I really do try to just be you know, channeling as much as possible, which I know that has, you know, kind of connotations to it, and you know, not in any sort of you know, literal sense, but just in a sense of I try to not force the poem into like I want it to be this. I try to not do that. I try to like let it speak through me and kind of tell me or guide me to what it wants to be. And so far, knock on wood, so far it seems to be working. You know, yeah, it seems to be just kind of an I feel like it kind of fosters and creates more. You know, the more I do it, the more like it opens me up. It's like the muscle is you know, worked, and the more it opens up, and so the easier it's more the easier I am to connect with that and kind of feel confident in what that poem wants to be. So it's really, yeah, it's been a really beautiful, mysterious, like I can't quite explain it, but I'm just going with it process.
I love it. I've never thought of this. I've never put these terms together, but I thought you're like a poem midwife. I mean, that's how I really felt like if there's a poetry midwife, it's you. Something in that description. I know other people had questions, and normally I start off saying, you know, can we just take a moment and say thank you, Mandy? And do people have questions? And I just had so many. I went right into that. Sorry about that, guys. Um, yeah, don't you like the poem midwife? I think that works for Mandy, kind of like how you were talking.
That's amazing. I mean, are you kidding me? That's like, I'm stealing that forever.
You're the one that
Thank
brought
you
it to
so
me.
much.
But you know, other people, do you have any insights or thoughts or questions? I thank you so much for generously talking about your poetry process. So that was fabulous. It was really exciting.
Thank you. I love the process. I love craft. I love hearing about people's poetry process. I mean, I cannot get enough. I love hearing
Right.
about what inspires people, what the coffee they drink when they write, what kind of desk they have. I mean, I nerd out over all of that. I mean, I just think it's so much a part of the whole thing. And so it's just such a joy to be able to even, like, you know, if I could go back to, you know, 10 years ago, I'd be pinching myself like I can't believe I'm actually like someone's asking me to talk about this, because it's just such a joyous part of it for me, that process. So thank you.
Oh, you are so welcome. We did talk, I've been putting in the link. If you don't already have Mandy's book, you can go to Wild Ink Publishing. Also, Mandy can do a signed copy if that's your preference. And Mandy, what would be the best way for people to get a hold of you for getting a signed copy?
Yeah, so you can email me at windychickenpoet@gmail.com. I can put it in the chat here. Or if you're on social media, if you're on Facebook, or basically all the things, Instagram, Facebook, and I just got on Blue Sky, though I feel like a little baby kitten over there. I'm not really sure what I'm doing over there, but I'm Windy Chicken Poet on all the things. So any of those,
Great.
Windy Chicken
I've
Poet.
just
And
put it in the chat section, but I think I did it correctly. So people can reach out to Mandy there. Windy Chicken. Come
That's
on,
me.
that's fabulous.
That's me. That's our farm. So our farm is the Windy Chicken Farm. So that's what when I started doing really prioritizing my writing, I was like, what should I, what should I kind of go by on the website? And then my husband was like, well, you're the Windy Chicken Poet at the Windy Chicken Farm. I was like, oh my gosh, you're right. That's true.
So good.
That's great.
Does anybody have any questions? I checked through the chat section to make sure I didn't miss anything. Feel free just to unmute and blurt it out. We're really informal here.
I just want to blurt how much I loved your whole presentation. It was absolutely delightful. I loved being able to see the text of the poems and you and the photos and get the backstory, and just Lordy, this was fun. I'm so excited. I'm so happy you wrote these poems and you have this book, and I can't wait to have it in my hands.
Thank you so, so much. It's, and you know, being able to, and I have to shout out to Wild Ink Publishing, who said yes to this collection and was so open to me having, because you know, not every publisher is okay with that, with having anything other than just the word content. And she was so wonderful at saying whatever you know, photos, you know, like I said, I have some recipes. I have this is, I'll show you. This is the find it here. This is a excerpt from a little notebook. It's kind of hard to read here. That's an excerpt from a notebook that wrote about when JFK was shot. So that was in the 60s. So, you know, just little things that I found. And that was just in like a little tiny kind of spiral, you know, not a diary or anything, but just kind of like a grocery notebook that somehow had found, it had stayed around. And so, you know, just being able to include things like that, and you know, and tell these, you know, these just wonderful testimonies, just testament to their strength. I mean, just the things that the women had to endure and fight through, and not only survive, but just survive with such grace and skill and integrity and beauty. And it just, yeah, just endlessly inspires me. So thank you for letting me share that.
Now I'm curious about the recipes though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are
Yeah.
they like your grandmother's or great grandmother's or
Mhm.
yeah. So
Well, I have a butter, there's one little excerpt from a butter dish, and then there's also, I believe, a little excerpt from a biscuit bowl, a biscuit rest. Yeah, a little, but it's not the whole thing. It's just a
okay.
little,
So you just to get the feel for the
but just their
context. It's all
handwriting.
context. Yeah.
Yeah, there's like a grocery list in there where it's got, you
Oh,
know, a
that's
little
fun.
grocery list in my Mima's handwriting. So it's just kind of little snippets. So nothing that's too revealing or too personal for, you know, it's nothing that would have been questionable, but just little bits of their handwriting or their, you know, of them in the book.
I love that they let you do that. I think it's so cool.
Well, I mean, most of the women that I'm writing about have passed away, have, you know, it's either great grandparents.
Oh, I meant the publisher, but yeah, that's
Oh,
true,
okay.
too.
Oh,
That
yeah.
is something that you have to be
And the
sensitive to.
relatives, and the
And the
relatives, right?
relatives.
It's
Yeah,
all
okay,
good.
you have my permission.
Too. I mean, when you said channeled, one of the things that I kept hearing again was like strength, but also string and tying and how things are connected. And that theme just kind of resonates throughout a lot of these poems. But also tying things together to make them hold up still, you know, things that are threadbare, sewing them. There's just so much richness in that whole imagery. It almost becomes a motif that's just so large. And then that made me think about how reading these and seeing the pictures is kind of like being led into the family in essence, so that the string of what ties us together becomes like wider and wider. And I just think that's really powerful. And I'm not sure exactly why that started threading through, but it did. And it became so much of something that I wrote down. When you said strength, I heard string, and then I wrote down strength. I was like, oh, it's working on multiple levels. Just lovely and very
so
powerful.
beautiful. Yeah, I
Very
love the way you
powerful.
did that.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I just want to say, I think that to dovetail with what Laura was saying, you know, the press did such a lovely job with it. And a lot of presses wouldn't have understood that for the reader, that is important. And even the picture of the porch with the egg exchange, I mean, there was something right, Laura, didn't that add? Because I thought what an odd perspective when I first saw it, and then the poem, there was something foreboding. It seemed like a jail because of the slats, and then it was like seen from an odd angle. And so then when you read the poem, I was like, I don't know intuitive, like how well thought out, like if you said this is what I have to use, but it was spot on.
I've got goosebumps you saying that. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, a completely separate photo that was taken from her porch, so not the porch that story happened, but that was her porch. And it just seemed like, oh, it was sort of the same thing, deciding which photos would go with which poems.
Yeah.
Some of them were direct, like my Mima's snuff jar but some of them were more kind of, more abstract, and it just was sort of like, oh, which photo kind of draws or ties into this, and that one really seemed like the appropriate one for that
It
one. So
was.
thank you.
I think that intuitive approach, and again, back to that poem Midwife, it's also in the collection, this sense of not somebody being so directive, but being more fluid, if that's a correct way to say it.
I love
Um,
that. I love that. And that's what I hope when someone's reading. I mean, all of it, any of my collections, any of the poems, like no matter what the theme is, my first book was all about US road travel and road trips within, all the states. And, I hope that, when readers are reading it, that it really is, not it's open, and it's an open
Yeah.
sense of where they can read it and just really let it hit them where it hits them, and they take what they might take different things from it, or certain things hit them differently. And I love that. I really enjoy writing where it's in a way that it can be very open, fluid. I love that word, fluid. I think that's what I aim to be. So
Oh,
lovely feedback. Yeah, great feedback.
it's spot on, hit it. Thank you so much, Mandy. I knew this was going to be a blast. And so I'm already going to say, next book, you're coming back.
Hey. Will
Did I
do.
miss
Thank you
anybody's
so much.
questions? Any other comments or thoughts? Ominous. Yeah, it was ominous, Regina. It was. I felt it like the minute I saw the picture. It was the very good call. Well, and that goes back to the texture, right?
Yeah, because it actually, just that scene where, the man, I don't know. It just made me think about who else knew about this man. Who would, that's just that, I don't know. That was just, it was just all wonderful and layered in ways that were effortless.
Thank you so
Perfect way
much.
to say it. Layered effortlessly. Thanks, Regina.
Thank you.
Well, I
I
feel
will
like
say I will say a lot of effort goes into it, but I love that it appears effortless. That's beautiful. It's like a natural makeup, right? It's beautiful.
Right.
so much more work, right?
I like Mandy that you know how to end a poem quickly. That's a beautiful thing. You don't kill the spirit of the poem by going on too long. And that you fit those each on a page. I thought that was impressive. It's harder than it looks.
Agreed.
Thank you. Yes, that was a conscious effort. I definitely have some longer than a page poems in my first collection. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to try. That's one of the things of evolving and just, trying to always get better in my craft. And I really want to challenge myself as someone who tends to be pretty wordy and verbose to, what can I cut? What can I edit down and really just get at the marrow? So I really appreciate you noticing that in that note. Thank you.
This is so much fun. We're gonna head towards open mic. I feel like we're at that spot. And if I missed anybody or for whatever reasons you changed your mind, reading or not reading, it's a-okay. Bob, I have you first.
Okay. This is a short one, as most of mine are. Whispered because it was required. They knew the dawn listened, and the trees were not what they seemed.
I'm always typing you something. And you catch me. I was like, Dawn listens, but and see, Bob's poems always land and then land again and then land again. I love that, Bob. Thank you.
Thank you.
The trees were not what they seemed. Mm. I have Christy next.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so Mandy, before I start, I just wanted to say you made me want to write more poems. I'm going to write before I go to bed, so thank you. And y'all give me some grace tonight. I'm reading fresh ink, and this one, I had to be brave. So I'm not going to sing, but I am going to tell y'all, all of y'all who've known me for more than 5 minutes know Bon Jovi is my favorite band. And I believe in signs, so this is that poem. My daddy drove me home the night he died. I held his hand, begged for a sign before they took him away. 34 years had passed since my own hospital bed anchored our living room and my boombox offered refuge. My spinal fusion healed faster with every pencil-chewed cassette tape rewind. It didn't matter that Bon Jovi's bad medicine him to prostitute. My 11-year-old soul knew I would meld words into meaning. From the first play I listened, held cadence like heartbeat. I need a respirator because I'm running out of breath. You're an all-night generator wrapped in stockings and addressed. The refrain was a childhood self-made promise. My words would ink pieces of me. This new language buoyed me. I would pay it forward. I studied every line. I don't remember when they pulled his hand away. The sound of my van's ramp sliding shook me out of my fog. I was in the hospital parking lot when the key turned a familiar beat and let it whisper through the speaker. Words crept up my throat, fading in and out, barely audible. I cried the melody. On the road, my favorite part came in loud and clear. When you find your medicine, you take what you can get, because if there's something better, baby, well, they haven't found it yet. My heartbeat found its tempo. My daddy's words from years earlier sang in my ear. He hummed, "If I hear that song one more time, I'm going to carry it into eternity." I laughed into my parking space. We were home one last time. Thank you.
Oh, yes, Christy. And yes, you were brave and fabulous reading.
Thank you.
Gorgeous. Now, you know, I'm going to tell you, send it. You know where I'm going to say, send it. I want to see you read that with Bon Jovi. Karen, I have you next. Music poetry. Make sure you're reading the chat section, everybody.
Oh my gosh, Christy. Oh, you took my breath away with that. Oh my goodness. Okay, y'all. Well, here's a bit of weird for you. To change the tone a bit here. So I have to make a guilty admission. I am obsessed with these AI morphing videos people are sharing on Instagram. I cannot watch enough of them. I'm like hypnotized by them. Anyway, so this is I guess it's an ekphrastic poem. It's in response to this woman's work that I'm following. Anyway, in one particular video. So there's a lot of imagery in the poem from the video and then my weird head. So here we go. After an Instagram journey through a Kelly Bosch AI art video. Earmuffs muffle nothing much, but you can pretend and conjure things into falling away. The bike doesn't pedal well in reverse, what with overcoats tending to get all caught up in the gears that keep turning and turning around. You can pack a yellow bag, which is actually a box with a handle, a case, in case you want to be technical. You can get a handle on that issue, non-issue, in order to transport your so many disguises. People may wave you on at you or nod up at you as a hey or a yes, or they may shake their heads as a no about you. And even if you didn't even speak to them, then that handshake and no would probably mean they don't know about you, which of course would mean actually that they really know nothing at all about you. Your clouds are often blue, gray, I hyphenated there like that, with intention and filled with so many dreamings trying to fly out, with surely some salt and some rust and some magic surely also trying to add into the mix, seasoning, as you know. And you will hold on to your teacup's handle steady and whisper wishes across that heat and whisper some spells as well, and take some sips from time to time and gulps, all in very good time.
I love your weird.
That's some
100%. I'll
weird.
always sign up for it. Again, the masterful musicality and the philosophy. There's so many lines in there, Karen. You need to see what's resonating for everybody. Thank you. Regina, I have you next.
Good evening, everybody. So Mandy, I would say you made me go to a poem that I haven't read in a while. It came out year before last in Cackalack. And it is a poem about my mothers. And I say mothers as I think up my ancestral line. I call on them a lot. They visit me a lot. And this poem is entitled Black Blues Gone, pulled from collective memory. On cold mornings, my grandmother would light the stove with fire and dry kindling to warm the house and our stomachs. She would heat sweet potatoes, still in their rough papery skin from the night before. One day I rose, earlier than usual, and saw her walking outside of my brown bag-sealed window, tattered coat collar pulled around her ears, woolen socks pulled over her hands, and as she bent and reached towards the woodpile, I saw the grimace and wince replace the soft brown gentleness of her face. This was the first time I had seen her as anything but God. Poor and black we were, but she never allowed us to feel the sting of the pain of this existence, nor experience the skewed culture often birthed from abject poverty and exclusion. She was our savior, and we resided in her courts, covered by her care until such time as our skin toughened to the world. Her garden bloomed as if it knew her and loved her, her touch, her talk, her tenderness. It lifted up offerings of fresh vegetables, enough for her to can for long winter months, and sprouted lush herbs for healing balms. She fed and treated all she knew who needed her care. She fought through pain to create a path for promise. The blue of blackness in this cruel South would not deter her resolve to tend her people in her garden of hope.
Holy smokes. I just got chills. See her as anything but God. Oh, that's gonna stick with me for the rest of the night. Just gorgeous.
Thank you.
I'm glad you got inspired to read that one. I don't remember hearing it.
It's in, I think it's in, what is
I was gonna say
23
Cackalack. Okay.
Cackalack. Yeah.
Wise choice on their part. I love Cackalack. Thank you, Regina. I have Marietta next.
Hello, I want to share. I want to share. Can I share?
Yeah, I'm gonna click it. You can share something.
I can share, okay. I have a poem published in Feather Press. Can you see it? Okay, I think now.
Are you trying to share a poem?
Yes, now. I think now it's visible.
Marietta, it's saying to double click so that you might need to click twice on it.
But it's here on the screen. Can't you see it?
Now
Oh,
we
we
can.
see it
we
now,
can see it now.
Avon.
Mhm.
Yep, there you
Yes.
go.
We see. Yes.
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 You're good.
So the poem is entitled "Oh Bad." That sonata comes from your desire to explore the exquisite crush of certain musical ideas. I'm staring at the sky, a masterpiece painted with scissors by Henry Matisse, while I listen to you. Those soaring white birds have the appearance of moving hieroglyphics. It seems so different this Sunday dawn in our ancient sunlight of concealment. A few golden rays weave a web to create new complex and eye-catching life spirals. Dreams rising and angels falling is the theme of your piano piece. This unusual rocking time is gradually whitening your hair. Two Mizutani shears appear to have been forgotten on a chair similar to those found in cotton curl shops. Never for haircuts and curls. Our salon is intended to be a gathering place for numerous artists. The house has spiral stairs that go down to Lonely Street. Sundays are not consequential in our household, but I think they should be, since they serve as a reminder to folks to spend a lot of time in prayer and contemplation with the Lord. One door that
Did your volume cut out? Oh, did I? Marietta, I can't hear you anymore. Is anybody else hearing?
I think she froze.
I think,
That's
I
what-
think it might have frozen. Yeah, I can't hear her.
And now we can also,
Yeah.
let me see. Marietta, I think you've frozen. And let's see if I can stop video. I might, guys, we might have to just go on with the screen share. I'll see if I can click out of that. There we go. Maybe that'll work.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got it.
Yeah, sorry guys. That was too
Oh,
fast. I'm gonna read the
tech
next slide.
problems. Oh my goodness. Oh,
She'll come back on. Lauren, I
Yeah.
have you next.
Okay. Yeah, I'm having technical problems too. My camera light is on, but it's not connecting to Zoom for some reason that I can't figure out. What do you guys feel like? I actually was going to read a new kind of goofy piece that I wrote, but I don't know if that fits. I thought of a poem. One of Mandy's poems made me think of one of mine. So what do you guys feel like? You guys want something weird and goofy, or do you want something kind of more keeping with what Mandy was reading?
I say let's go with quirky. I trust you. Yeah. Number one
Okay.
is what a lot of people are saying.
Okay.
There we go, Lauren. It's
Okay.
been voted
All right.
on.
All right, we're gonna do goofy then. So I recently learned that Dr. Seuss did a series of art pieces called the Midnight Paintings. And it was it's sculpture and paintings and drawings, and they were not released until after he died, per his request, because they're darker and adult, and he didn't want it to mess up his yes, midnight paintings. Yes, Here, I have let me give you guys the link to one of the galleries that has them. And I'm completely obsessed. I bought a book. You know, it's just, they're just really, really cool. They're like Escher and Dolly, but with Dr. Seuss. So I wrote this poem called The Midnight Paintings of Dr. Seuss. We're not in Whoville anymore. For the mysterious place we're bound for, you have to go on beyond Zebra, past the last truffula grove, to where oncelers in pale green pants are rumored to rove. Here, Dr. Seuss doodled and carved and glued horn to wood, creating an imaginary taxidermy menagerie as only he could. Mounted trophies of creatures with names like Tufted Gustard and the Gimlet Fish, and paintings of beasts unmistakably his. The elephants, the birds, the odd furry bipeds, abstracts and eerie nightscapes, and surly tabbies being ejected. Not a straight line to be found, all curves and odd angles, in technicolor shades that'll make your eyes jangle. The good doctor worked in a tower so he could stomp and shout and try the sounds of his distinctive syntax out. These worlds of which he was both creator and dweller. But then, we already knew Ted was a singular feller. He didn't want his secret art released until after he died, a last gift for the children whose imaginations he guided. A window into that childhood garden that looks so different now, a place we'd go back to if we only knew how.
Fabulous, Lauren. Oh my God. Yeah, no, you had us at the title, but then I have to say, what a beautiful balancing act. Yeah, the Seussian phrasing and then also the unique, I mean, just your own voice. Wonderfully done, masterful.
Thank you. It was hard. I don't usually rhyme, so that was a hard poem for me to write, guys.
You did great.
Thank you.
You had the voice there, but you also moved back into I mean, it would have been so easy to tip the scale. So I'm just impressed that you walked that
And
tight.
it's hard to write like him. It's actually really hard. Yeah.
Yeah. That's, I mean, to even get the rhythm, the cadence, and the rhyme. I mean, people think it's just the rhyme, but it's not. It was the cadence. It's everything. That was well done.
Well, I tried just writing it as not rhyming at first, but I was like, no, I cannot not rhyme for Dr. Seuss.
You had to. You had to.
Had to.
Thank you, fabulous. I'm glad we chose number one.
Yeah.
Such a beautiful nod. Mandy wrote such a beautiful nod to him and his layers. Just a reminder, check the chat section because there's a lot of comments about poetry in there.
But
Laura?
yeah, I highly recommend you guys check out the art. It is unreal. It is so cool.
I can't wait. Laura, I have you next, and then we end with RC.
I just wanted to let you know that I did put the link to his secret art archive because of course I went and looked it up the minute she started talking about this. It's fascinating.
It is so cool.
That is really interesting. Okay, I was of two minds about what I was going to read tonight, but I'm going to reach back to Cackalack like our Regina did. This is from 2021, but it's about my grandfather. The sound of perfume. I can still smell the air, thick with the scent of King Edward's, cigars my grandfather smoked before one lung was lost, his larynx stolen. I remember the smoke, but not the sound of his voice before he croaked a warning at us for climbing the chestnut tree to reach the roof of the chicken coop, rotting beneath neat green shingles.
Holy smokes, Laura, you've been knocking them out recently with a really powerful and so evocative. Yes, scent. It was so strong on the scent, and the imagery was really powerful. Nice poems. RC, I have you next.
Thank you. Nice to meet you all. I enjoyed this very much. Good job, Mandy. I had thought to do a song, but Mandy's book made me think of something I haven't read in a while. So I think I'll do this. The Jar of Buttons. Our neighbor Jean would have loved her own estate sale. She haunted She haunted these sales for years, and her house was full of bargains too good to pass up, selected from estates of many other bargain hunters. Who knows where this butter dish has been or where it will go from here? We talked about the sale for weeks. Our daughter wanted the poppy painting from the corner of the living room, and we had to have that arts and crafts desk, and by we, I mean my wife. The sale was widely anticipated, and we had to wait in line to get in. Jean's late husband, also Jean, was an artist, and what a strange thing it was to see a series of his watercolors making their way down the street, a pedestrian gallery gently bouncing along like a psychedelic snake. But we weren't after more art. Like Jean herself, we are creatures of habit. I went to the basement to handle old tools, and Camille headed for the sewing room. When I rejoined her, I was loaded down with more screwdrivers than I could ever use, and she had a similar haul of bobbins, needles, and thread. This is when I saw the jar of buttons. Every woman who sews has this jar, just like every handyman tool shop has a jar of mixed screws, bolts, nuts, and washers. And no matter how big the jar is, it never has the exact one you need. Camille did not give this jar a second look since she has her own jar, but I can't get it out of my head. Maybe I'm associating it with some primordial candy jar on some general store shelf, the ultimate fishbowl gumball dispenser. Put in a coin and hope for the finest button to hold your pants up. Or maybe I'm hoping to restore my favorite old shirt. But more likely, I am responding to this old jar as a revelation of the secondhand nature of our physical selves. It's one thing to have Carl Sagan tell me that my body includes atoms that were part of the body of Da Vinci or Plato or Moses, but to actually see the buttons of eternity, it makes it all real. So many shirts and jackets and dresses, pants and high-buttoned shoes, so many accidents, bodices ripped passionately, shirts popped open with excessive pride, uniforms stored carefully, then eaten away by time until only the buttons remained. Buttons found with metal detectors on the old school grounds. Buttons salvaged from lost galleons or old overcoats, which had themselves been salvaged and mended and decorated with mismatched buttons. Buttons made from mother of pearl from the shells of freshwater mussels dredged up from the Tennessee River by flatboats equipped with clam rakes. And was it even her jar of buttons, or had the whole jar passed from estate sale to estate sale since the Pilgrims landed? Even the jar itself, a blue glass canning jar with a glass lid, appeared exceedingly ancient to my unpracticed eye. As the sale progressed and the prices dropped, the temptation to move everything from her house to ours grew stronger. We had to hold on to railings and doorknobs to keep from going back and back. After the last day, over coffee and newspapers, I asked, "What about the buttons? Did you ever go back for them?" "No," she said. "I already have a jar like that." "I am a jar like that," was my silent reply.
So you've got to read the comments, RC. I don't want you to miss that. Yeah. Oh, the jar of buttons. Just fabulous. I love the details. I love the whole journey of moving all the stuff from that house down to your house. Totally related. Marietta, I noticed you were able to come back in. Do you want to try to read the rest of your poem? Because you froze midway. And make sure you unmute. We might still be having technical problems. I'm so sorry, Marietta. I'm gonna read, I just got my copy of the Potomac Review in, and I have two poems in. I'm just gonna read one. I don't think I've read it here. I don't see how I could have. EEG, used to map the brain for electrical activity. So EEG. A nurse attaches electrodes to my child's scalp. wraps gauze around their head, wires snake past shoulders to the recorder clipped at their hip. The nurse says, just live per usual the next 24 hours. When we return the next day, the doctor says my child's brain has unstoppable surges of electrical activity, rapid, continuous spikes and buried waves, a wild landscape of activity, like a seismogram, I think. While the nurse unwinds the gauze, my child jokes, I'm a visitor to your planet, and this is how you treat me? Within 0.4 of a second, the brain can tell the body to laugh. Yeah, that's the kid. Those of y'all who know Key, that is the kid. The kid, this is how you treat me. She looked dead in her eyes. All right, people, such a good company today. I always look forward to Thursdays. Mandy, thank you so much. It was just
I want to continue the poem. I
okay,
finished the
Marietta.
poem. So
Maybe not share screen just in case that's what's causing the issue.
without sharing, I will read only.
Let's try that.
It's a new Sunday, but old tears fall from the cloud's eyes. Still, the critics don't want to miss hearing you perform on the piano. A sense of dawn and some ancient hieroglyphs shine in the music's lyrics. To wake up next to you makes me happy. Thank you. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, it just
Really,
froze.
it's
That
for the
was
first time for me. I don't know what happened. Can you tell me?
I have no clue, Marietta. It seemed like it might have been maybe your internet because you froze. I don't know if you
We're
could hear
almost
us, but
done. They're wrapping up. I
that
have
you
not. I'll let you-
got to read.
Zoom giveth and Zoom taketh away.
True story, RC.
Sorry.
Kids.
I would
But
like,
Marietta, make sure you read the comments from your poem. I'll give you a moment to look at the chat section.
Thank you. Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
And I love what Mandy wrote about the line, the way God
Mhm.
ministers to you makes me happy. It's a gorgeous line.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. So good to be in your good company. Mandy, thank you again. Look forward
Thank
to seeing
you.
you, and I'll let
Oh.
you know about the postcard poetry gathering that we're doing January. Be well, people. See you next week.